What if a normal train ride turned into a nightmare? It all begins on a dark road. A driver hits a deer with his car. The animal looks dead, but seconds later it stands back up. Its eyes look unnatural, almost possessed. Something is terribly wrong. Meanwhile, we meet Seok Woo, a high-powered fund manager, too busy making money to be there for his daughter. After his divorce, their bond has grown distant. His daughter Swan makes one simple wish. She wants to visit her mother in Busan. Reluctantly, Seok Woo agrees. Father and daughter board a train headed for Busan. Just another ordinary journey. The train carried many ordinary passengers, but none of them knew they were boarding a nightmare. Among them was a tough working-class man, Sang Hwa, traveling with his pregnant wife, Seon Kyung, along with a high school baseball team excited for their trip. Everything seemed normal, until, just as the train doors were closing, an injured girl barely made it on board. No one noticed the wound on her leg. No one knew death had just entered the train. Moments later, something horrifying happens. The girl begins twisting unnaturally. Her body convulses, and within seconds, she turns into a zombie. Her first victim, a train attendant. One bite, that's all it took. And then chaos explodes. The infected attendant transforms too, attacking passengers one after another. Like wildfire, the virus spreads through the train. Screams fill every compartment. People run for their lives as friends, strangers, even loved ones turn into monsters before their eyes. Passengers from the infected coach desperately escape into other compartments, slamming doors shut behind them. For a brief moment, they survive, because the infection hasn't reached those coaches yet. But safety doesn't last long. Then the train's news broadcast delivers even worse news. This isn't just happening on the train. The virus has spread across the entire country. Cities are collapsing. Countless people have already become victims. And now everyone realizes this train isn't taking them to safety. It's carrying them straight into hell. The train finally screeched into the station. Passengers rushed out in panic, desperate to reach the city. But what waited outside was even worse. The infection had spread everywhere. The entire station had turned into a nightmare. People screamed as zombies flooded the platforms, forcing survivors to run back toward the only safe place left, the train. In pure terror, everyone scrambled aboard, separating into different compartments as they tried to survive. Then the driver makes a shocking announcement. Busan. They're heading to Busan, the only city rumored to still be untouched by the virus. A final hope. Meanwhile, Seok Woo, Sang Hwa, and Young Gook meet other survivors while trying to move through the train. Now 6 people stand together, and they have only one goal: reach the first compartment, because it's the safest place on the train. But getting there means crossing through hell. Compartment after compartment is packed with bloodthirsty zombies. One wrong sound, one wrong move, and they're dead. Using every ounce of courage, they fight, crawl, and push through waves of infected. But the real monsters aren't always the zombies. As fear took over the train, the surviving passengers made a brutal decision. They refused to open the door for Seok Woo and the others. Even after fighting through hordes of zombies to save everyone, they were treated like infected monsters. But in a heartbreaking act of sacrifice, Sang Hwa and Kim Jin gave up their lives fighting the zombies, just to buy enough time for the others to reach the safe coach. Their sacrifice worked. Seok Woo, Suwon, and Seon Kyung barely made it inside. But instead of being welcomed as heroes, they were isolated like criminals. The selfish businessman locked all 4 of them away, claiming if they were infected, the rest might still survive. A young girl, devastated after watching her sister In-gil turn into a zombie, completely lost hope. And in one terrifying moment, she opened the door, and chaos exploded. Like a flood of monsters, the zombies rushed into the coach. Screams echoed. People were torn apart one after another. The so-called safe box turned into a slaughterhouse. Within moments, most of the remaining passengers were dead. Only those isolated in the chamber survived: Seok Woo, Suwon, and Seon Kyung. Meanwhile, Yong-guk and a train attendant managed to save themselves too, by hiding inside a washroom while the train became a moving nightmare. Then we see the train tracks ahead are blocked, the rails are shut down, and hope seems to disappear. As the train screeches to a stop, the surviving passengers rush out, desperately searching for another train to escape. But in the chaos, they get separated from each other. And even now, when death is all around, the COO's greed shows its ugliest face. To save himself, he drags an innocent train attendant toward the zombies. The poor attendant is torn apart, and that selfish coup survives once again, but fate had other plans. Even though he escapes, a zombie bites him. Slowly, he starts turning. And just when the survivors think they're safe, Ku transforms into a monster and attacks the remaining people inside the train. Seok Woo fights him with everything everything he has. A brutal struggle begins inside the speeding engine, but during the fight, Seok-woo gets bitten. At that moment, he realizes the truth. He doesn't have much time left. Holding back fear, he locks his daughter Suan and Seong-kyung safely inside the engine room, knowing he is saying goodbye forever. Before leaving, he tells his daughter his final words. Words no child should ever have to hear from her father, and this moment completely breaks you as the infection spreads through his body. Seok-woo walks toward the edge of the train, and in his final moments, he remembers Suan as a little girl, her first smile, her childhood laughter, the moments he failed to cherish. For the first time, the cold, selfish businessman is gone. Only a father remains. As he begins turning into a zombie, Seok-woo makes one final sacrifice. He jumps off the moving train, choosing death so his daughter can live. And honestly, this is one of the most emotional deaths in zombie movie history. As the train finally reaches Busan, the train doors open. Only two survivors remain, Suan and Seong-kyung. Slowly they step out, walking through the dark tunnel toward Busan. But safety isn't waiting for them. In the distance, armed soldiers take aim. From far away, the two survivors look just like infected. They are seconds away from being shot, but then a voice echoes through the tunnel. Suan starts singing the same song, the one she once wanted to sing for her father, the song she couldn't finish before. Now she sings it in his memory. Her innocent voice reaches the soldiers, and they realize these are not zombies. These are human survivors. The guns lower, and for the first time after all that horror, there is hope. After losing her father, after surviving a train full of nightmares, Suan makes it to Busan, but at a heartbreaking cost. And with that emotional ending, the movie comes to an end. Train to Busan isn't just a zombie film. It's a story of sacrifice, love, and a father's final promise.